All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everyone. Hi. Hope you guys can hear me and see the screen. Alright. So before I jump into the next topic, I would like to hear from you any questions on the activity which we discussed in the last 2 days. Did you have any difficulty in solving the assignment or completing the remaining options? Or any questions on what all the topics we covered so far? Okay. Then I have a question first. When I do string, as you all know, string is a class, right? So when we use string is a class. You don't use any import statement, right? So I'm not sure where did I discuss that program, or probably here. If you see, for scanner there is an import statement, right? So scanner is a class and it belongs to java.util package. Similarly, string is a class and it belongs to java.lang package. Then why there is no import statement for java.lang.string, and why there is an import statement for java.util.scanner? For scanner, why there is an import statement and why not for a string? And even system is a class and it belongs to java.lang. And why no import statement for system? Why no import statement for string? And why there is an import statement for scanner? Oh, oh, you guys have no answer to it, or are you not able to hear me? Okay, okay, all right. Okay, so I was just thinking whether you were able to hear me or not. Okay, fine. Let me address it. It's simple, you know. The thing is, the classes which belongs to java.lang are implicitly loaded. I mean, you don't need a one don't need to specify import statement for all the classes in the java.lang package. So whatever you find in the java.lang, they are implicitly loaded. You don't need to explicitly write a statement, explicitly write an import statement for java.lang. They are by default loaded for every Java program. I reiterate the point. For every Java program, the classes in the java.lang are loaded by default. You don't need an explicit statement for classes in the java.lang package. You only need a explicit import statements for all those classes which doesn't belong to java.lang, which belongs to other packages, which belong to packages other than java.lang. That's it. So already we spoke about the differences between the static, and we also spoke about the constructor, static block, and which will execute first, the significance of static main method, and why do we need this string array. We also spoke about this. Next, we saw one usage of the super, right? So with the help of super keyword, you were able to invoke the parent class constructor from the child class constructor. We were able to invoke the parent class constructor from the child class constructor with the help of super. Is there any other usage of the super keyword, or is that the only use of the super keyword? Can we use super keyword for any other purpose, or only the super keyword is used to invoke the parent class constructor from the child class? Yes.
I think you can use the super keyword to call the functions which belong to the parent class.
Yes. Super keyword is also used to call the parent class members from the child class members. So super not only helps you to call the parent constructor from the child constructor, but it also helps you to call the parent class members from the child class members. So before I get into the next topic called abstract or interfaces, I would like to discuss something called as an overriding. So we are into day 2. I hope you guys are got the recordings for the last 2 days, right? Okay, great. Now we are into day 8. I want to talk about overriding. So let me create a sub package, or let me delete this. This concept is very important. I got a class called parent. Then in this class parent, I am defining a method. Just say whatever we're gonna say, put. I just define a class name as parent. Then I'm giving a message. Put in class parent. Then I'm defining another class called child. Then I'm defining a method. Whatever you want to take, you can just take it. So I have a class parent. I have a class child. In the parent class, you got a put method. In the child class, you got a get method. And there is no relationship between both the classes. Though I named them as a parent and child, there is no relation between the class parent and the class child. Then I create a class called run. I got a main method. Then here we go. I'm creating a object for the class parent. What all the methods I can invoke? Of course, I can only invoke the methods which belong to the class parent. I'm creating an object for a class child. What all the methods I can invoke? Of course, I can invoke only the methods which belong to the class child. Yeah, I'm happy to see the result. Now let's add a little complexity. I make the child class extend the parent. I make the child class extend the parent. The child class is extending the parent class. I make the class child extend the parent. Now what? On the parent object, you can call only parent class members. Whereas on the child object, you can call child class members as well as you can also call the parent class members, because the child is a on the child object, we were able to invoke the parent class methods as well as the child class methods. Of course, access specifier allowed. If I make it as a private, I won't be able to do that. If I make it as a private, I won't be able to do it, because private members are only accessible by what? Only by the members of the same class. Private members are not allowed, not accessed outside. So when access specifier is allowing, a child can call parent class members. Put in class parent. Then again you have a put in class parent invoked by child. So here. So I give a message before I print something. It's a parent class reference, or you call it as an object. Calling parent class methods. Here a child class reference calling child class methods as well as parent class methods. As well as parent class methods. Seems to be good. There is no difficulty at all. These are the things which we already studied or we already discussed in the previous sessions. Let's add a little more difficulty. In the parent class, I am defining a method called print. In the parent class, I am defining a method called print. Then in the child class, I would like to add the method with the same name and same parameters. If you see, in the child class, there is in the parent class, there is a method called print and no arguments. In the child class, there is a method called print with no arguments. So the parent and child are sharing the same names. This is called overriding. What do you mean by overriding? Your child class method having the same name and same parameter as parent, then we call it as overriding. So let's see what happens. On the parent object, I can call only parent methods. So on the parent, I can also call print. On the child object, I can not only call the parent members, I can not only call the child members, but I can also call the parent members. On child object, you can invoke child members as well as parent members. Here the question arises, what gets called now? Is the parent definition or child definition? What gets called is the parent definition or child definition? Yeah. Would you people like to take a guess? What will be the message? Will be the message from the parent class or will it be a message from the child class? When I say child or friend. Yeah. Yes. It's a child class. The reason being, why child class? What gets called is the parent or child? That's the question. The answer was child. The reason, what is the reason for it? Reason being, you call it on child reference. So what is the reference I'm calling the print method on? I'm calling the print method with child reference, so child method gets called, not the parent method. So far it is good. Now let me add a little more complexity. Now I have a parent reference which is already there here, right? Now into that parent reference, if you guys observe, I am adding a child object. We all knew that. We learned in the last class. In the last class we learned that a parent can hold the address of a child. A parent can hold the address of a child. So here the parent class reference is holding the child object. The parent class reference is holding the child object. Now, what are the methods I can call? I try to see, yes, I can call the put method. I can call the print method. But will I be able to call a get? Will I be able to call a get? No. So here's the point. The point is, though parent reference holding a child object, you see, if the parent reference is holding a child object, still it can invoke members of parent. Still it can invoke only members of itself and not child. Right? Not child. I was unable to call the get methods. Though this parent reference is holding the child object, I am unable to call the get method. Right? Now, what will be the output for the last two statements? I want you guys to take a guess. The last two statements, line number 24 and line number 25, what will be the message they're going to print it? Yeah, yes. So here, for the first one, put method. Put method only belongs to the parent class. Put method only belongs to the parent. So the message will be from message from, or you can say parent class definition. But what about this? Earlier when I say parent.print, here it was parent class definition. Parent class definition. Here too parent class definition. Whereas when you say print, now this time it's not the parent class definition, it's a child class definition. It's a child class definition. Why child class definition? Because here the parent is holding a child object. The parent is holding a child object. Now in this scenario, the child definition works, not the parents. And this is called as polymorphism. Right? Because if you look at this, the line number 25 and line number 14, syntactically they are same. Line number 25 and line number 14, syntactically they are same. But their behavior varies. Their behavior varies. Here the parent class definition getting printed, here the child class definition getting printed because in this case it will go back. So when line number 25 comes for execution, it goes back and check what object I am holding. Oh, I am holding the child object, then child definition works. In this case also it will go back and check what object I am holding. Oh, it's a parent object, so it should be parent definitions. So this is called as polymorphism. So you know polymorphism is a single name associated with many forms. That's what happening here. A single name associated with many forms is called as polymorphism. And you saw just an example of a polymorphism now. So that's what. So when overriding happens, and when parent is trying to invoke the overridden method, and parent is holding the child object, so it's not the parent definition works, it's the child definition works. This parent reference holding the child object. But we know, though parent reference holding the child object, still it can invoke only the what? Members of itself and not the child. So you're able to call print and the put. But here print, not the print definition of the parent. The print definition of the child works. The reason being polymorphism. So this is called as dynamic polymorphism actually. So before I execute this print before I execute this message, or before I execute this instruction, I'll go back and check what I'm holding. Since I'm holding the child object, the child definition works. Yeah. Any question on this part, or is it clear for all of you? All right. Okay. So I'm assuming that you guys are clear with this. So this is what polymorphism and this is what overriding is all about. Now let's move on to the next topic. It's abstract. I got a class and again I use the same kind of stuff. This time I go one level hierarchy up. I pick the grandparent. Now in this, I want to define a method. Public void say hello. Just give a message. Perfect. So what is grandparent? Grandparent is a class. Grandparent is a class and it got a method. Is that method defined? Yes, the method is defined. Is that method defined? Yes, the method is defined. So grandparent is a class and it got a defined method. So this class is complete. The grandparent is complete class. Or we refer it as a concrete class. No. One can refer grandparent as concrete class as all the methods of the class are defined. One can refer grandparent as concrete class as all the methods of the class are defined. Right. So can I say something incomplete? Or a class can be a incomplete? Yes. You can have a incomplete classes too. So when your classes will be incomplete? When the class got an incomplete methods. When the class got a incomplete methods. How do we define how do we declare incomplete methods? No. When we don't want to define the body of the methods, then we need to declare the methods as abstract. When we don't want to define the body of the methods, then we need to declare the methods as abstract. What I mean is, I don't want to define the body of the method. So I want to say hello to maternal grandparent. I don't want to define it. When I say define, I don't want to do this. I don't want to open a block and write something into it. Or I don't want to leave it empty like this. So this is something like you are defining something. Now you are defining it empty. But I don't want to do this. I just want to leave like this. This is not allowed in Java. This is not allowed in Java unless and until you prefix a keyword abstract. Unless and until you prefix a keyword abstract. So when we don't want to define the body of the methods, then we need to declare the method as an abstract. Now you have an abstract method. And when you have an abstract method, why do you see a red color mark still? Because the class is not abstract. When your method is incomplete, of course your class is incomplete. Since a class got an incomplete method, so you just need to make the class as abstract. Note, if a class got undefined methods, or you can call them as the class got abstract methods, then the class must be declared as abstract. If a class got undefined methods or abstract methods, then the class must be declared as abstract. So that's what happened here. The class got an abstract method. Since the class got an abstract method, right, the class also need to be declared as abstract. Otherwise, you see compile time error. No. A class without any abstract methods, or you call it as undefined methods, can also be declared as abstract. Means the class got no undefined methods. If you see, this is an incomplete method. I got rid of it. Still the class is declared as abstract. There is no complaint. This class got only one method and that is complete. But still I want to call the class as incomplete. No props, you can do that. A class without any abstract or undefined methods can also be declared as abstract. But at this time this is optional. It is optional to call it as an incomplete. Actually it is a concrete class, it's a complete class. But I want to call it as an incomplete. Do that. Who stops you from doing it? But in case if a class got an abstract method, then you must declare it as abstract. So it is optional to declare the class as abstract, but it becomes mandatory when it got an abstract method. I hope you guys got all the points. But what is the advantage of creating an abstract class? An abstract class cannot be instantiated. That is, objects cannot be created for an abstract class. Objects cannot be created. One cannot create objects of the abstract class. One cannot create objects of the abstract class. Why we cannot create objects of the abstract class? Because it got an incomplete method. You cannot create objects of the abstract class because it got an incomplete method. So if we got an incomplete method, if somebody calls that method, what will get executed? Why we are unable to create objects? Because if we create object, we will be able to call methods. But when I call a method, something should happen. But did we wrote something in this method? No. Did we define this method? No. If we don't define a method, then what is the point in calling it? We should not be able to call it. So in order to stop that method being called, we don't even create objects of it. So when you cannot create objects, of course you cannot call it. Then what is the point? What is the point in creating the abstract classes? I understood that abstract classes cannot be instantiated, that is, objects cannot be created. Then why should I write abstract classes? Because if I don't create object, the class is useless. If I don't create object, the class is useless. How do I make use of these abstract classes? Alright. Note. An abstract class can become an abstract class can become a parent of another class. An abstract class can become a parent of another class. So here we got a grandparent. Then I go and create a class. I call it as a parent. Then I define a method in it. Public void say hello to parent. Then I give a message. Hello parent. This is fine. Good. Now, see guys, this is a concrete class now. I have a class parent which got a method which is fully functional. I know what is this method gonna do. So this class got a complete method. This class got a defined method. So the parent is a concrete class. Parent is a concrete class. Now I'm extending a grandparent. See, the moment I extended a grandparent, I see a red color mark here. The moment I extended a grandparent, I see a red color mark here. When I take the mouse over, I found that the red color mark is not because of you, because of your parent. Your parent was an incomplete class. Your parent was an incomplete class, and you are extending your incomplete parent. Now what is expected from you? What is expected from you? Being a child, expected to override the abstract method of parent. Alright. You have another option too. Otherwise, call yourself as abstract too. There are two solutions. When I click on this red color mark, there are two solutions. Make yourself abstract, then your parent was incomplete and you are also incomplete. The other solution is, why don't you write the logic for the method which your parent has not did it. I'm overriding it. I give a message. Hello to maternal grandparent. Say hello to maternal grandparent. So you have two options. You can either override the, or you can either complete the parent class incomplete method, or call yourself as what? Being a child, expected to override the parent class abstract method, or call yourself as abstract. So I would like to go with the option calling myself as abstract. I don't want to clear the grandparent, or I don't want to override the grandparent abstract method. Then you cannot create object for abstract classes, you cannot create object for grandparent, you cannot create object for parent. What you can do then? You create one more class name him as a child, and I want to define a method inside public void say hello to child. Just give a print message. This is fine. Now it's a concrete class, right? Now I'm extending the parent class. The moment I extend the parent, I see a red color mark again. Now what should I do for this? Two solutions. Either implement that unimplemented method or call yourself as abstract. Now I don't want to call myself as abstract. I want to prefer overriding it. Perfect. So what next? I cannot create object for grandparent. I cannot create object for parent, but I can create object for child. So let's say run with the main method. I create object for child. Then I say child dot say hello to child. Say hello to parent. Say hello to grandparent. Then child dot say hello to maternal grandparent. Because if you look at the child class, I defined the body for this method. And we already know that a child can call parent members. A child can call its own members, and child can also call parent members. So I don't think this output should surprise you. Right. Now, here goes the challenge. Look what is happening. I'm storing a child object into the parent class. Then what are the methods I can call? I cannot call child class members, but I can call parent class members. I can also call grandparent members. Because hierarchy is what? A child can call parent members. So parent being a child of grandparent can call grandparent members. But if you guys observe carefully, is this grandparent method over body present? I mean, for this grandparent method, are we defining the body? No. Then how come it is happening here? This is possible because it is holding a child object. Since it is holding a child object, we learnt in the previous example that a parent one holding a child object, parent reference holding a child object can call parent members only. But in case if it is overridden, child definition works. That's what happened here. Parent.print, parent.print, whereas here it is holding the parent object, so parent definition. Whereas here it is holding a child object, so child definition. Same thing here. This parent is holding the child object. So when I say hello to maternal grandparents, it is not defined here. It is not defined here in the parent also. It is defined in a child class. Since I am holding a child object, then child class definition is working. Yes? Now same case also applies for grandparent. You can store a child object into a grandparent. And we'll see what all the methods you can call. I can call only the methods belonging to the grandparent class. So though this maternal grandparent, we didn't define this method, still you are able to call it on the grandparent. The reason being the grandparent is holding a child object. See, I cannot create object for grandparent. I cannot create object for parent because they are abstract classes. But what I am doing here, I am creating the object for the child storing into the parent reference. Then on this parent reference, what are the methods I can call? Parent members and its parent members. Grandparent can call only grandparent members, whereas parent class can call parent class members as well as grandparent members. This is your last two from grandparent. This is from your parent reference, and these four are from the child reference. So is this concept of overriding and the concept of abstract clear, or any questions on this? Alright, just give me a couple of minutes, right? I'll be back in 2 minutes. I'm back. Okay. So any questions before I jump into the next topic? With respect to overriding or with respect to abstract. Okay. Let's let's move on to the next topic then. It's an interface. So if you see, I'm not using the keywords abstract because you cannot use keywords for package names. One cannot use keywords for package names, so that's the reason I'm just using abstract interface. I'm not using interface completely. So first let's see what is an interface. So I'm just creating a interface here. If you see, right click new, you see something called as an interface. Okay.
Hi Arun, suppose if you don't want to do the overriding, how we can do that one? Suppose the method we don't want to do overriding by other class or other members, so how we can do that?
Oh, how do we prevent overriding?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's gonna be simple. Okay, let me do that. I have this method called say goodbye. I don't want anyone to override this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody tries to do override this, now this is the grandparent and parent is trying to override it, and you want to prevent this from happening, right?
Yeah.
So in the grandparent, I use the keyword final with the method say goodbye, and when your parent is trying to override, it shows you a compile time error, and the message is final cannot override the final method.
Okay.
So final is a keyword which will use it to prevent overriding.
Okay, but we can call the method, right?
We can call the method.
Okay.
You cannot override, but we can call a method.
Okay. And what's the use of this, overall use of this override? Because we cannot call the method in the child class using the parent one, right?
We cannot call the method in the child class using
the parent object.
Yeah, using the I'm sorry, can you come again with your question?
Yeah, we cannot call the method in the child class using the parent object, right?
Yeah. Why we are able to, which one? We are able to call, right? A child can able to call the parent member.
Yeah, but parent cannot call the child methods, right?
Yes, parent cannot call the child members because you inherit property from your parents. Your parents don't inherit property from you.
Okay.
It's the same principle they applied it.
Okay,
right?
okay.
And you will understand the significance of abstract in that scenario only. Your parents were able to, your child will be able to call parent members, but parent will not be able to call child members.
Okay.
But how your parent can enjoy the luxury, or how your parent can enjoy the children's property is, they put something as an abstract, Suppose it's like a simple basic funda. Like, you know, the parents got a loan and child is clearing it.
Okay.
So who got the loan and who enjoyed it is parents, but who is clearing the loan is child. So if you see, it is completely quite opposite. Normally inheritance is what? You enjoy something which is given by your parents.
Yeah.
But abstraction is completely opposite.
Okay.
Abstraction is what? You got a parent got a loan and child is clearing it.
Okay.
Right? So I will show you one example. We will be doing one example where you understood where we're gonna understand the purpose of abstraction. Why we need to do abstraction? I will be discussing one activity. So for time
Okay.
being, we're just discussing the concept, how to apply abstraction. So in the next class, we will be discussing an activity that will tell you what exactly the real purpose of using the abstraction. Alright?
Okay. Okay, Arun. Thank you.
So let me summarize your point. If you want to
Yeah,
prevent
yeah.
somebody from overriding, use final keyword.
Okay.
So let's get back to this part. We were about to create a interface here. So I didn't address what is interface yet, but I'm just telling you how to create an interface in the package. Right click, instead of picking up a new class, pick up a new interface, and your class and interface will have the same naming convention. Class and interface will have the same name convention. Class and interface will have the same name convention. Every word in a class name begins with a capital letter, and every word in the interface also begins with a capital letter. Then how do we differentiate both of them? So there is no way we differentiate because there is no different convention given by Java developers. But in my organization, I prefer this. Understand, this is not recommended by Java. This is not recommended by Oracle community. Oracle community still use this naming convention for interface. They don't differentiate in terms of name. Interfaces and classes, they use the same naming convention. But in our organization, we differentiate an interface and a class with the help of a letter I. If I see something with the letter I, for me it indicates that it's an interface. So here I got an interface. Let me first talk about what is an interface. Interface is a keyword in Java. That is one thing. As we all know, everything is a keyword. When anything you use, class is a keyword in Java. Interface is also a keyword in Java. Public is a keyword in Java. What is the use of interface? But before I define interface, I would like to define class again. Class is a collection of variables and methods. Class is a collection of variables and methods. Now these methods can be concrete methods, or the methods can be abstract methods. Now when it comes to variables can be, when I say variable, it's a value can be changed. Variables can also be constant, whose values cannot be changed. So in a class, I can have a variable whose value can be changed, or I can also have a variable which is constant, whose value cannot be changed. I can have methods which are concrete and which are also abstract in a class. Now focus on this point now. Interface is a collection of constant variables and abstract methods. So interface can comprise of only constant variables and abstract methods. So here the question arises is, you know how to declare an abstract method, but how do we declare a constant variable? Example to declare a constant variable. It's simple. Final data type, variable name and value. This is how you declare a constant variable. What is interface? It's a collection of constant variables and abstract methods. Let me add one more interesting point. By default, the methods inside the interface are abstract and variables are constant. So variables are constant and methods are abstract. Variables are constant and methods are abstract. Interface is a keyword in Java. And what is class? It's a collection of variables and methods, and class can have constant variables and class can have normal methods as well as abstract. Whereas when it comes to interface, it can have only constant variables and abstract methods. And how do we declare a constant variable? With the help of a keyword final. And by default, the methods in the interface are what? Abstract, and variables are what? Constant. Now I have an interface. Now in this interface, I am trying to declare a variable what happened? I just declared a normal variable. This looks like a normal variable. So what I try to do is, I try to modify its value. It looks like a normal variable. I try to modify its value. I create a class called run with a main method. Now see here, what is happening? It's an interface, and for interface we cannot create object. So let's add one more point. Interface cannot be instantiated. That is, object cannot be created for interface. Object cannot be created for interface. If you look at this, when I try to create an object for interface, it won't let me, it won't allow me. This is not possible. Cannot instantiate. You cannot create object for interface. I'm trying to modify the value of the file. What it says now. You cannot assign a value to it. Why I cannot assign a value to it? Because it's a constant. See. The final field cannot be assigned. But did you use the keyword final here? No. Did you use the keyword final here? No. That's what I said here. By default, the variables are constant. That is, by default, the final keyword is used with them. And I use public. Can I make it as a private? Illegal modifier. So one more default is, by default, the methods and variables are public. So you use a keyword public or you don't use a keyword public, it's public by default. So the variables are constants whose value cannot be changed, and it's public by default. You cannot use it here. You cannot make use of it. I mean, when I say cannot make use, you cannot modify the value of it. One cannot modify the constant values. Then I try to define a method here. Let's see. Let me try to define a method. It says abstract methods do not specify a body. In the interface, only abstract methods are allowed. You cannot have a method with a body. See, this is valid. Don't use a public keyword. It doesn't matter. Public is by default. Now the question arises is, what is the point of having something which is not defined? If you see, area triangle is a method, but did I have the implementation to it? Do I have the implementation to it? No. Then what I'm going to do with this? So I can add few more methods like this. Area square. You can add as many as you want. Area rectangle. Floor area square, then you have area rectangle, but length and the breadth. Now, what is the significance of this interface? You cannot create object of it. Then why do we need them? Again, a class implementing interface. A class implementing interface is expected to override the methods of interface. A class implementing the interface is expected to override the methods of the interface. Here we go. I create a class, and this class, what is happening? This class implements interface. This class implements interface. Class area implements iArea. If you are focused, it's not the extends keyword. It's not the extends keyword, it's the implements keyword. Now within this, I press the enter key. Then I have two options. You can override all the methods, or you become abstract, because interface got what? Interface got abstract methods. Interface got abstract methods. So when I'm implementing a class, implementing interface is expected to override the methods. I'm expected to override all the methods. See, I'm overriding all the methods. In case if I don't want to do that, I don't want to implement all the methods, then you have second option. Call yourself as abstract. Call yourself as abstract. So you have two solutions, but I'm not interested in the calling myself as abstract, or rather I'm interested in, now what is your area of the triangle? Half times of base times of height. Then when it comes to square, it's side times of side. When it comes to rectangle, it's length times of breadth. That's it. You implemented all the methods. Now how do we run it? So one thing is we are sure, like we create objects for a class. Then we can say area of triangle square. Then you got rectangle. Area square is undefined. I don't know. Okay. It's done. So this is simple. You have the implementation class, create the object and call the methods. The other interesting thing, focus on this part. You are not creating an object for interface. We cannot create object for interface, but we can create object for the class and store it into the interface reference. If you observe, I am creating the object for the class and storing into the interface reference, whereas interface is a collection of abstract methods and constant variables. Now since it is holding the implementation objects, this interface is holding the implementation object, it can call the methods. So this is all about your interface, right? We've got a few more points about the interface that we'll take it up in the next class. So any questions on what I covered so far? No, I know that there will be one question which will be haunting you people. Why should we use this abstract and interface, or where we should use it? That will be clear in the next class when we solve an activity. But excluding that question, if you have any other question with respect to abstract or interface or final, yeah. Oh, final is a keyword. Okay, just give me a minute. Final is a keyword which can be used with variables, methods, and classes. So let me talk about the final quickly. Final is a keyword and can be used with variables, methods, and classes. Final variable is constant, whose value cannot be changed. So with the help of final, if you declare a variable, final variable is constant, its value cannot be changed. Final methods cannot be overridden. As you know, because of the inheritance, you can override the parent class methods. A child can override the parent class methods. But in case if you want to prevent that, you can use final keyword to prevent the overriding. And you can also use final with the class. Final class cannot be extended. So if you want your parent class, if you want a class not to become a parent for another class, you don't want to share the features of your class with somebody else, then you can use a final keyword. The moment you use final keyword, you cannot extend a class. So I can apply it here and show it. If you see grandparent, the moment I declare grandparent as a final, you see the red color marks in the rest of them, because it says here grandparent is final. So you cannot have a subclass of the grandparent. I hope I answered your question, Pradeep, regarding the final. Okay. Yeah.
Hi, if in the class, if we declare one method as abstract, if other method as define something, then what we call the class?
I think you are talking about this. There is one method which is abstract and other methods are not abstract, right?
Yeah, but still it's
abstract
okay.
class. If a class got at least one abstract method, then entire class is referred as abstract class.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and if no abstract methods also, you can call it as abstract.
Okay.
But when there is an abstract method, it has to become an abstract class.
Okay.
Was that your question or anything else?
Yeah. Yeah, that was my question. Yeah, I got it.
Right. So, any other questions on the previous sessions?
No, no.
All right. All right. Hi. Okay. Right. If no questions, we will stop here. We'll catch you in the next session, and we'll be doing an activity which will be revolving around the interfaces, abstracts, and final keyword in the next session. All right. Okay. And all right. That's it. If no questions, you guys can drop off, and we'll catch you in the next session. Okay. Hi, I know there are two people new in the class. Can you just talk about yourself? You know, are you did you find today's class comfortable?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Alright, so you already have a knowledge on Java before, or is it the first time you are going to Java then?
I've taken a course in Java a few years ago, so I know I'm familiar with this.
Okay. May I know who is this? Is this Kenji?
Yes, it is.
Alright. Okay. Alright, so we will be continuing the session, and now we are going to code Java sessions. Once we finish off, we will be moving into the servlets, JSPs, and Spring Hibernate. It slowly progress. Alright, and even we'll be covering. And Shiva will help you with the schedule probably. Yeah. Any questions for me? Or you have any questions?
Okay. No,
All right.
I'm fine right now.
Right. Hiran, would you like to say something, or are you comfortable with the today class, or? Oh, are you there? All right. I think he's not at the desk. We'll catch him up later. All right. Thanks everyone. If no questions, we'll stop here. Catch you in the next session. Right. As usual, I'll share the recording and the today's documents.